Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag, coming to you live once again from many caves. As always, I am joined by the star-filled, incredible panel of people tonight. Bill, Justin, and Allie. The Super Review Show crew is here once again. What's going on, guys?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Bill.
He's not a
Uh,
doctor. He doesn't have a PhD. We mentioned this all last week.
oh, come on. But anyway, yeah, sorry for the second week in a row. We're on Thursday night, not Wednesday night this week.
It's allergy season, folks.
And
Isn't it
Justin
wonderful?
and I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but I have a little bit of sniffles going on. Justin was sick yesterday, and Bill and I,
A little bit of a sore throat, a little bit of a nasal drip.
yeah, Bill and I were
I'll get
sitting
through it.
here. Bill and I were sitting here about to start Mixed Bag yesterday, and Justin's like, "Yeah, can we do this tomorrow?" And I said, "You know what? I need a rest. Let's do it." And we're sure enough, we agreed to do it tonight. So it's Thursday night when we're recording this. Thank you so much for joining us as always. But tonight's topic, Bill, is
Okay. Well, first of all, we all hope you enjoyed the roast last week. Um, but
I'm
tonight we're
waiting for my
talking.
revenge to come.
But tonight we're talking
Your
about.
revenge. I'm the first one to get.
you're next, Justin.
Okay, without further ado, tonight we're talking about a more serious topic tonight.
And now
Okay,
for a
tonight
very special episode.
April is Autism Acceptance, formerly Awareness,
I mean, why is it called awareness? It's not a disease, though.
but it is Autism Acceptance Month. Because a lot of us here have connections to autism. I'm on the spectrum myself, for those who don't know. And today we're talking about autism in media. And I just want to give a disclaimer to all our lovely viewers out there. One, none of us are doctors, none of us are psychologists, none of us are
But we're all
psychiatrists.
very passionate.
Not exactly. We're all very passionate. We either know someone on the spectrum or some of us are on the spectrum. And but we are not experts and we're not going to sit here and claim that we are. And two, we understand that autism is a spectrum. And Ali, I think you said it beautifully last week when we after we got off. Autism is like stars. No stars are alike.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
how you said it, or did it something?
No, that's exactly how I said it. It's like a star because, again, astronomy-wise, are any stars the same? No.
Same can be said with a snowflake.
Autism is like snowflakes because no
Not,
two
we're
are
not using the
alike.
word snowflake because
Oh,
that's another story.
Okay. Yep. Sorry.
no, but
Sorry.
I kind of like that analogy slightly better because. But anyway, all autistic people are different. And, we're going to talk about representation in movies. And again, we're just giving our opinions. And again, we're not experts. And and again, if any of this stuff is too much for you and you don't want to watch, we understand.
There are
Yeah.
other things to watch except for the Hunger Games thing.
Okay, so who wants to begin our discussion here?
Do we start with the wig in the room or do we not?
The what in the room?
The wig in the room?
Do you want to save that for later? Or do you want to kick that off with this?
What do you think?
You want to get this out of the way now, don't you?
I guess start with the worst and go for the best.
Yeah, or we'll just jump around and see what happens.
If you want to start with the worst, I have one that's different than the one you're talking about, so you can start with it.
All right, Allie.
Let me explain this. Although, yes, Sia is autistic, she made a huge mistake with trying to do a movie about autism. Although she quote unquote said she did try having someone on the spectrum be an actress, act in the movie, she chose her protege to be the star. And the way they showed it and showed how to work with someone was the worst thing ever. I would have, if I was somebody like that, I would have called APS or CPS.
And that movie is
Music.
oh god, I've ranted about this before.
So I avoid this movie like the plague. So I still have not seen it.
I've seen parts of it. And I've seen like review commentaries of this, and oh my freaking god. And I'm gonna try not to repeat points I've made, but let's just say when I talk about this movie, it has to be a day to make sure they're not taking my blood pressure. Because this movie is just gross. It's absolutely freaking gross.
Mm-hmm.
Allie, you wanna? I'm sorry, I hijacked.
No, it's fine.
Go ahead.
Just like you said, I'm just reading this saying Sia's painful debut of her movie is using autism as a prop. And honestly, that's what she did. She made autism like an object, like a figure, showing, oh, this is what the person has in their mind with the music. I'm like, are you out of your mind? How could first off, you have someone you have a neurotypical person, protege, playing a nonverbal person. This is what they think in their minds? How do you know? Where's the scientific evidence? You should have probably had somebody who was neurodivergent playing this role.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at that picture of the character with her headphones on, and when I see it, it just makes me think that it almost reminds me of someone mocking someone who's nonverbal rather than someone who is nonverbal themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
And for someone who is nonverbal, this could be a sensory thing on its own, this whole movie.
Yes, it is.
So, see ya later.
Oh, and you know what? You know what the scene that makes me want to take something and throw it at my TV?
The one with the
I thought,
restraining?
yes.
Yeah, that's the
How
one right
on
there.
God's
I would call
green,
APS if somebody did that to her.
how
Or
on
CPS.
God's green earth is that allowed? Who thought writing that scene in was okay? And this scene, and for those who know, there's a scene where she's having a meltdown, and one of like the caretakers is holding her to the ground. They're holding her to the freaking ground. That doesn't calm her down. Oh my god. Oh my god, that scene makes me want to puke. It's just, who thought this was okay?
See ya.
And you know what? Sia, you know what? I'm going to quote everyone's favorite book right now.
The Bible.
As it says in the book of Proverbs, pride goeth before a fall.
Mm.
She was just so arrogant about this. Well, she did the whole, okay, well, don't judge it till you see it, which Justin and I can agree. I think that's a fair argument. You don't judge something until you watch it. Am I right, Justin?
Correct.
I think we should all reserve judgment.
No. You messed up from the beginning.
But this was the thing. Well, I wasn't finished. The thing that screwed the pooch is people before the movie were criticizing her of how they depict someone with autism. And she goes, well, I had people I didn't have them as drug dealers or prostitutes. I had them as doctors and singers and other people. What do you want, a gold star? And this is another thing. As someone who's on the spectrum, what?
You want To be
You want to pat?
celebrated for doing the bare minimum.
Exactly. Oh, you want a pat on the head because you weren't total assholes to someone to someone with autism? Oh, well done, Sia. I'm sorry. These are the type of people that annoy me. That oh, you're gonna be oh, you're autistic? Well, guess what? I'm going to do the bare minimum and not be an asshole to you, which don't be an asshole, people. Please don't.
Yeah, people will do it anyways.
I'm just going to sit here and do the bare minimum, infantilize you, talk to you like a child, so everyone can say I'm a good person. I treated you like a human. What do you want a pat on the head? Do you want a pat on the head? You want a cookie?
Now
I'm
they
sorry.
wouldn't even take the cookie.
Those people just make me furious. It's like they treat people on the spectrum like they're charity cases. Like being nice to them is some big,
No.
like they should be viewed as like, oh, they're so great. No, they're not. And this and that scene, the restraint scene. I said this when we talked about movies that are hard to watch. I'm going to say it again. If anyone out there think that's okay, unsubscribe. I don't want to know you exist. You know why? Because I'm sorry, guys, but knowing that someone thinks that's okay, watching that makes me squirm. Autistic people should be treated with dignity and respect.
Not puppets, not pets, not objects.
And this is just, this whole movie is an insult, not just to autistic people. This movie is an insult to people in general. And I see your punishment, never make another movie again.
Well, we haven't really heard anything from her since this movie came out, so.
No, she made some other songs, and I'm trying to avoid listening to them because what she did.
Yes.
I am officially on a Sia ban until Sia does the right thing.
And also, she took advice from Autism Speaks, so that's a whole nother
Never trust Autism Speaks. As someone
Still
Listen-
waiting for that apology, Autism Speaks,
And what apology is that? Being part of this movie?
for fighting for a cure.
Yeah. Listen, I will say this. Autism Speaks does some heavy emphasis on the word some.
for
Good
parents
thing.
only, never for anyone who is, how do I explain it? High functioning. They do a lot more for the lower functioning, no offense.
Yes.
You know what? They even want to do away with those. They even want to do away with those terms, higher and low functioning. They want to do away with those terms, higher and lower functioning. I want to ask you guys this. They want to replace those terms with higher needs and lower needs. What do you guys think about that?
It's just the same thing,
It's basically the same thing.
except reverse.
Like someone who would be considered lower functioning would be considered higher needs, while someone who's
Isn't
higher
that more
functioning.
offensive too?
Yeah, it does sound a little offensive, actually.
Really? How come?
Because
It's like high needs, high maintenance. It's like you're kind of offending someone who needs the needs. But if you're saying that their function level is not as high, then
Well, here's where I hear this debate. When you hear higher function, higher needs and lower needs, that's just some autistic people need more needs. Some may just need a little bit of help.
but what are the needs though as well? It varies from person to person.
Well, no, I agree with you on that.
So that's why it doesn't make any sense because everyone has different needs. So you
Yeah.
can't say high need, low need. Because some of the needs are varied.
Well,
hence the spec.
here's the thing. It's like, let's take, there are autistic people who need a lot of help and say can't live on their own.
Like my brother.
Exactly. Then there are those, okay, they can live on their own, but they need a little assistance with things. And then there are autistic people who are totally independent and can live on their own.
And it's the
So,
functioning. It's more appropriate than the needs.
but isn't
And
functioning based
comprehensive.
but isn't functioning basically saying going by how I can't really explain it.
Like they're able to function independently. They're able to do things with minimal assistance. I'm not saying independent because in honesty, it's hard to be independent.
Whether
You
you're
have
higher up
some.
functioning or lower functioning, it is harder to be independent. So yeah, Sia, go away.
Let me tell you this one more time, Bill. See ya later. Actually, see ya never.
Go back to making mid-tier pop music.
Well, from one misguided misfire to another, let's talk about Shane Black's The Predator.
What?
Never
You
heard of
guys
this
weren't
movie.
you guys weren't expecting this one, were you?
I'm curious. I'm actually very curious.
So in this film, Jacob Tremblay plays the autistic son of the main character played by Boyd Holbrook. And the predators are actually after him because in this universe, get this, autism is actually the next step in human evolution. And the predators want the autism to integrate into themselves. So again, using autism as a prop.
Oh gosh.
That's disgusting.
I can see where Shane Black was trying to go with this, trying to build up people with autism, but portraying autism as a superpower, that rubs me the wrong way. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, because that reminds me of when the so-called autism parents do the my kid's autistic. What's your kid's superpower?
Exactly.
I'm sorry this is becoming a rant session, but that pisses me off too for some weird reason.
You're good, bud.
Not quite as much as the Sia movie because that one was just morally reprehensible, but definitely misguided. Definitely tone deaf. And
to me, there's a difference between just okay, misguided, maybe these people had good intentions, but it just screwed the pooch. While something like Sia's movie is just, I am giving that no grace whatsoever.
So
yeah,
in other words, Predator probably could have been a little bit more better in a way, had it not used autism as an evolutionary line, but just as an integration.
Like, I think the people who did that, and you tell me if you guys agree or disagree, I think those people may have had the best intentions in trying to say, hey, you know what? Being different is kind of cool. I think they had the best intentions, but I think they just really screwed up.
They could have done better.
Like, I don't think
and
this is like
Shane,
Sia. I think that was just.
it's a shame too because I am a big Shane Black fan. The
Well, I
Nice
like
Guy,
Shane Black too.
The Nice Guys was one of my favorite movies of 2016. But wow, like just wow, like this is what I was kind of getting at earlier before we started rolling about how when it comes to autism in media, everyone either portrays the low functioning aspect of it or the savant skill aspect of it. And
Sadly, that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Nothing in like the middle.
we're very rarely in the middle.
They either portray them as Maddie Ziegler's character in Sia, or the character of another movie, which I'm sure we're going to get to very shortly.
Would you consider that movie though controversial in a way?
We'll get to that in a bit because that one actually has a bit of a conversation to be had.
We'll get to that in a moment.
That's more than a rant. That's an actual conversation.
Okay.
Okay. JT, you got anything?
I'm just the guy controlling the screen tonight. So.
Okay, so it's over to me then. Well, JT, we still want you in the conversation.
Oh no! I'll chime in. I'll chime in when the time is right.
Okay. You think it's time me go there right now? What do you guys think?
Oh, is
Go
it time to let it rain?
Let it rain,
Rayman.
man.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. Now listen, I know there are people out there who like this movie.
It did win an
And if,
Oscar.
and if you do, in the words of the Big Lebowski, Justin,
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
listen, if you like any of these movies that we're talking about, more power to you.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing this we're trying to be as fair as we can. And the movie Rain Man, starring Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman.
Now let's be completely fair about this because
Okay.
Yeah.
A,
Different time.
different time. B, portraying who was supposedly an actual person.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Didn't Dustin Hoffman do the research of that person and met that person to get inspiration?
I believe so.
So he actually did his homework.
So I'll
And
give
so
credit to him on that.
And D, we really haven't had anything like this before.
Yep.
It's almost like this is going to be a weird comparison, but it's almost like the Gone with the Wind of autism movies.
Mm.
Really? I care to hear what you have to say.
Well, Gone with the Wind, one of the first big movies to feature actual black actors instead of white actors in blackface. Okay. Maybe not. Now, granted, Dustin Hoffman does not have autism. But it brought awareness to autism in a time where it was still something that you would send your child to an institution over.
Well, to me, this movie, and like, listen, there are people I know out there, and I can respect them for saying this if they like the movie, but they admit this is not an accurate depiction of autism.
it didn't age particularly well.
Well, I think for its time, I think it was okay for its time
The term is fair for its time, yeah.
because not much was known about autism in 1988.
Exactly. Our science marched on, our understanding increased.
But if you watched our movies didn't age well thing, this is something I got really angry about. The late great Roger Ebert, God rest his soul, he said, "Well, Dustin Hoffman's character has the disease known as autism." I'm like, sitting there, autism isn't a disease, you dumbass. But then I have to stop and think, okay, this was a different time.
It was 1988 too.
But and like, here's the thing, because I've heard this before. To me, I'm sort of in the middle of this one. Because has anyone ever heard this phrase? You can't apply 21st century values to something that was made decades ago.
Yeah, otherwise you're going to be destroying everything.
In some cases, I don't think, listen, like when they bring up stuff that could be seen as offensive and they want to ban it, make sure these things never see the light of day.
Like most of the 80s.
Like, I'm against that because, in a way, we kind of limited ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, on one hand, you can't apply, I can see why this stuff is offensive. And, if they do a re release of this movie or put it on streaming, maybe they should put this film
Disclaimer.
is a product of its time. We know this is just one type of autism. Keep an open mind. But, like there is a scene, which I do give them credit for, in which Tom Cruise's what's Tom Cruise's character's name again?
I haven't seen the movie, so I can't comment there.
It's been
It's-
a while,
This
but
is on my to
Tom
see list
Cruise.
though. Oh, let's go to IMDb.
yeah, maybe you could do a reaction
Oops, hold on.
for this movie.
We could. 1 second. I don't care if we're Google it. Tom Cruise's character's name was Charlie
Charlie
Babbitt.
Babbitt.
And Dustin Hoffman's character's name was Raymond Babbitt.
Hence Rain Man.
Yes.
Because right after Charlie and Raymond meet for the first time, he's talking to the doctor from the institution. And he goes, "Oh, well, Raymond is an autistic savant." And he goes, "So I'm not going to say that word. I know it was a different time, but I don't even want to get digging into that word.
I know what word you're talking.
The
I don't
R
like
word. I know that is an actual condition, but I do not like that word."
Oh, it's a word that's thrown around so liberally.
Mm.
Like, if you want to use that word in its proper format, fine.
Even then, there's different ways of saying it.
No, because I've heard that word a lot, and that makes me angry.
You wouldn't survive at my place of work.
Oh, they use that word a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm
ahead.
going to say this to all those people out there who go like, "Oh, you're just a snowflake. We talk like real bad. You're just all PC culture." No, I'm not for PC culture. I'm not for cancel culture. I'm for being decent.
Yep.
I'm for treating people with I'm for treating people with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Absolutely.
that makes me a snowflake or an SJW, then so be it. Then,
And if you don't like it, I mean, we got 2 words for you.
what are those?
F
It's
off.
a wrestling. Yeah, I was gonna say suck it, but
We can.
a wrestling thing.
We could just say suck it, guys. We don't have to go that specific about it.
All right.
Anyway, when he goes, so he's that word. He goes, no, 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 he's not that. He's actually very smart. He's very smart. He's very good with this. He has skills. He's a savant. He's very good at math. Well, to me, like back then, I think they were trying to be kind, but at the end of the day, but I think nowadays, I think that could be a bit problematic. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Mm.
especially since this movie kinda molded the public opinion on autism pretty much to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I had someone ask me one time, and you've all heard this story.
Oh, okay. I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
I won't get into the whole thing, but somebody asked me, "Oh, do you have a savant skill like in Rain Man?"
Oh God.
I don't know if that's ignorance or just plain stupidity.
I once had an employer ask me that about my brother.
Seriously,
Yep.
I hope you filed a complaint or something.
Um, he owned his own business, so
Well, Justin, if you do, you want to tell me here? Or do you want to tell me off air how you handle that situation?
Off
I
air.
mean, I just said no, he doesn't.
Because that's the thing, and I think that's the negative thing that this movie has done. Everyone who is on the spectrum automatically, and the people who think this movie is accurate, they think every person on the spectrum is Raymond. That's not the case. And listen, I'm giving this movie a little bit of grace because it's a product of its time.
Yeah, of course.
But nowadays, oh God, I feel like I'm contradicting myself. I said we can't apply 21st century values to everything. But at the same time,
At the same time, though,
we can acknowledge
the
things don't
world
age
is
well.
applying 20th century values to the 21st century
Yep.
because of this movie.
And because, again, the time it came out, not too many people knew much about autism.
No one really did to this extent
So
today. So
I think the people who worked on this film, again, I think they had good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had good intentions. But at the same time, I think they didn't know what it was going to do over 30 years later.
Yeah.
can I chime
And
in for a second? Oh no, go ahead.
absolutely. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, okay. I just want to say, for those of you who don't know, and for those who've been listening to us for any period of time now, we do this show live on YouTube first, and then it goes uploaded to podcast form afterwards. I just want to thank the chat board first and foremost. They have a bunch of questions for us, actually.
Ooh,
Yes, I'm doing that. We don't normally do this, but I mean, we've been doing this podcast for almost 4 years now, so we might as well do this at some point. Someone in the chat board said, "At what point does someone with autism stop being a character and become a prop?"
okay.
I,
First
I,
of
wa-
all,
wait,
that
I worded that wrong. Forgive me. At what point does someone with autism stop being a character trait and become a prop? Excuse me.
okay, and this is from Bernadette Shard. So, Bernadette, first of all, thank you for your question.
Yes.
Catherine.
Oh, that is Catherine. Well,
Thank you,
Catherine, thank you
Catherine.
for your question.
Justin's girlfriend
Um,
chimed in a little bit.
when does a person stop being a prop? Maybe when they show them that, okay, yes, they're autistic, but that's
When
not,
autism isn't portrayed as their only character trait.
I think
Yeah.
that's a fair point. I don't think it should be portrayed as a character trait. They shouldn't make them one dimensional. Allie, agree?
I do agree. And I'm wondering, has there ever been a media like that?
Where they have autism portrayed as
A person and not
and
Honestly,
not.
this figure?
honestly, television seems to do a little better with that.
There's a
Okay,
transition.
we can get to that in a bit. Because Justin, you said you had other movies to touch on.
Um,
Wait, Allie, do you have any? I'm sorry, I'm missing the order here.
Not that I could think of.
You're good, bud. No worries.
I mean, I do know that in the 2017 Power Rangers movie, they made the Blue Ranger autistic.
And how do they portray that?
I don't know. I didn't see the movie.
Okay, so
I
maybe
did-
we should talk about that.
There's a review of it on our channel. Check it out.
But anyway, Rayman, final thoughts. How do you think Dustin Hoffman portrayed Rayman?
I mean, he did the best he could with the research that he did. He portrayed one person on the spectrum, and we really shouldn't fault him for Hollywood thinking that that's everybody on the spectrum.
And you know what? This is someone once said to me, you meet one person on the spectrum, you meet one person on the spectrum.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like one person on the spectrum defines
No, that's not
the
true at
whole
all.
spectrum. That's why they call it.
The
A
spectrum.
spectrum.
It's not just, and I feel like, autism is more diverse than people think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Very diverse.
Because it's not just because I think the problem with films are either of how it's portrayed in the media. You either have Maddie Ziegler's character from Sia or Rayman.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's no
There's
middle
no
ground.
there's no middle ground. Yep.
They're either extremely low functioning or they're a savant.
Hmm.
So anyways, anybody got any movies we want to move on to television? Because I do have another movie I want to talk about if you guys before you guys
Go
want to
for
move
it.
on to television.
Go for it, Bill.
Have you ever heard of this movie? It's actually an animated movie. It's called Mary and Max.
No.
Justin, guess what? I'm the one pulling out the obscure stuff tonight.
Ha.
Wow.
So the movie is actually about two characters named, well, guess what?
Mary and Max.
Yeah, Mary is a 8-year-old girl. Is an 8-year-old girl from Australia who really
Yeah.
doesn't have the best life. Her mother is an alcoholic. Her father is just not involved. Like in the words of the movie, he just sits out there in a shed doing some taxidermy while sipping a glass of Bailey's Irish cream.
Oh.
And that's not a knock on Bailey's. I think Bailey's is very good. Bailey's,
Good
don't
for
sue
a
me.
good time.
What was that?
Good for a good time. Am I right, boys?
And then Mary was one day at the post office looking for a pen pal, and she finds Max, who lives in New York City. And Max is this older man. He's socially awkward. And, they do list he has a hard time with nonverbal cues. With nonverbal cues, which is usually a depiction of
Being on the spectrum.
people on the spectrum. And it finds that, and it shows a lot of autistic like behavior, like stuff that's very repetitive,
Mm-hmm.
like how he always, when he plays the lottery, he always plays the exact same numbers. Actually, no, wait, I think that's a common trait with a lot of people. What do you think?
That's called lucky numbers.
And how he has like what they call special interest. How they have this interest in things that are sort of like Smurfs, like these toys. So they act and later and they start having this. And what I think this movie does good, it shows like when he gets a letter, he starts having like a panic attack. And I'm not making fun of people with panic attacks, but anxiety is a part of people on the spectrum.
Hmm.
You know what? Here's a little fact for all of you folks that I think you all need to take some food for thought. People with higher functioning or lower needs, autism, whatever you want to call it, are actually more prone to anxiety and depression.
Yep.
So there's something to do some research tonight. And anyway, but then he calms down, and him and Mary start writing back and forth to each other. And they do it for many years. And then it turns out that Max has, okay, I know this term is outdated, but Max has Asperger's syndrome.
Hmm.
Yeah, we don't use that term anymore, by the way.
Mostly because the guy it's named after was a Nazi.
Exactly. And yeah, that's why we don't use that term anymore. But anyway, they show that he could get a Rubik's Cube, which does take a lot of skill. Like, has anyone ever gotten a Rubik's Cube? Be honest. Has anyone ever?
I
just peel the stickers off and place them somewhere else.
Oh my god, you got that from Billy's dad.
I do. No, seriously, I do. Which fun fact? Now you're making me think about it. I'm gonna mention this later on. I will mention Billy and Mandy later.
But anyway, but it goes through when Mary's an adult, and she becomes a psychologist, and she starts doing her research on Asperger's, autism. And this is the thing that makes everyone angry. It makes the thing that why Autism Speaks is a terrible organization. Autism Speaks has nothing to do with this film. But she goes, hopefully one day I'll find a cure.
What?
And Max is very angry about it. He goes, I don't want to be cured. I like the way I am, he says. Okay, can we just, I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent here. How many, by a show of hands, how many people think when they say, oh, we need to find a cure for autism? How many people here, you lovely, intelligent folks, and even in the chat, find it disgusting when they say we need to find a cure for autism?
But there is no cure.
I mean, I'll say this. When I was younger, I would have said yes. Because of my brother.
Okay.
My brother is very low functioning. Has to live in a home. Needs a lot of assistance. Is on a lot of different medications. And yeah, when I was younger, I would go on those walks for a cure. My understanding has since evolved, but I do wish that there were ways to bring those who are lower functioning up to our level, if that makes sense. And I hope I'm not offending anyone by saying that.
I know what you mean. Like, autism can't be cured. It can be managed.
Yes.
If that makes sense. It can be managed. And, there are autistic people who are like Justin's brother. Justin, I hope you know I don't mean that in like a derogatory way.
No, I know.
But there are people who are autistic who can live relatively normal lives.
Hmm.
And Max gets so mad when he hears that, he rips the M off his typewriter and sends it to Mary. I mean, guess what? I'm not writing to you again. And then there's a understanding. I'm. Do you guys want me to get into detail or not spoil it? Up to you.
Up to you.
Well, there is a scene I'm not going to get into because Mary was considering doing something harmful to herself, which I'm not going to get into. But it really shows you that she herself knows that, okay, Max likes the way he is. I can't have him be cured. You know what? I'm not going to spoil the end. I'm going to say this is very sad, but at the end, it's very beautiful. It is actually a. I've heard about this film for a while, and I watched it when I was in college. I'm going to be honest. I literally had tears in my eyes at the end of the movie. Like I said, the ending of that movie is it's sad, but at the same time, it's beautiful. Because one of the people, I don't know if it was the writer or the director, he actually based it off a pen pal he had who he speculated may have been on the spectrum.
Hmm.
And I thought and listen, this is a movie that I think depicts autism right. So please, this is a movie I highly recommend. All right, folks, since you haven't seen it, from what I tell you, would you guys give this a watch or give it a skip?
I give it a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd give it a watch.
Yeah. Okay, Allie, talk to us.
About what?
You said you wanted a talk about a certain cartoon show because that
Justin mentioned it because of the quote. So I know I mentioned this back in October, and it is The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And because the director himself was autistic and revealed later on that Billy is autistic. I'm
And
not sure if
Mandy.
it was all three, but I know at least Billy is autistic.
I think all three of them were.
It is all three?
I think so.
because
It
Billy
is.
represents sort of the
Wikipedia is
not
to be believed.
the what?
You
If
might be right.
Wikipedia is to be believed.
I'm gonna look it up quickly. Because I know at least one is autistic. Yeah, just gonna look and see. I think
He likened Mandy to the cold, rational way he learned to view the world in order to survive. Billy to the
yeah,
fun,
all of them
joyous
do.
world where Adams liked to spend his time, and Grimm to the moral mediator between the two.
And Adams confirmed this in 2021.
Yes.
So in other words, we never knew that all three of them were autistic individuals. Which was crazy.
So it's sort of like the ego and the super ego once you think about it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the id.
So wait, Billy's the id. Mandy's ego? And Grimm's super ego?
I don't know if that checks.
I know Billy's id.
I just wanted to just say that
Yeah,
chat
but
board, you are
Mandy
killing it.
also
Ooh.
is kind of itty too.
Sorry about that.
Hmm.
Chat board, keep your questions coming. We appreciate you, and I'll read them off in a little bit.
What's your question? What are they saying?
They're just saying some comments oh, my dad. I think the reverse of that question is easier to answer. Autism stopped becoming a prop in movies when society became more welcoming and accepting of those with autism.
But the problem
100%.
is some people are never gonna accept autism as a way of life.
And that sucks.
Because you want to know something, there is something that, yeah, I think this is the worst person to go to, but Seth MacFarlane, he made a
God.
Family Guy cutaway gag.
Oh no. No, please don't talk about
Yeah,
that.
Did he
Uh-oh.
really?
He did.
and you
I
know
remember
what?
now.
Yikes.
This was like Brian made this thing about someone going, God, what a nightmare. That guy's scarier than a Thesaurusaurus. And they go and they show like this dinosaur going, trudge, stomp,
Oh, I was thinking the
jubilate,
other one.
antonym, whisper, and there's two dinosaurs right there. And one of them goes, what's his problem? Goes, he's on the spectrum. Goes, spectrum? In my day, they throw him in the army and have him play the bugle. Listen, I don't think Seth MacFarlane's ableist. I think he was making fun of those type of people.
Okay, but let me ask you something. Was this a recent cutaway gag, or was this like from way back?
I think it was like 2015, 2016.
Okay,
Yeesh.
that's after McFarlane stopped. McFarlane's no longer involved in the writing process. I think he left around 2012.
No. We're not talking about Seth MacFarlane's. Just a quick thing.
Sorry.
Mhm.
So it's completely possible that that was just the writer's room.
Do you think that joke is offensive, or you think they were just making fun of people like that who are that ignorant?
I mean, Family Guy's always trying to push the envelope when it comes to comedy.
They always are.
That should be an episode. Times Family Guys cross the line every single episode.
Hell,
Yep.
there was that episode where the gang were trying to stop the Patriots losing streak, and they went to God,
Oh yes,
and
but
you remember what happened when Peter touched them.
yes. But anyway, getting back on topic, yeah, I could see that Ali actually told me that the creator was actually autistic.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see Billy's sort of the goofy type. Mandy is sort of the doesn't know how to interact with people type.
Socialized.
And Grim is sort of the
In between.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to say on Billy and Mandy, or
I guess just the way, like, if you see them interacting with other people, I mean, Erwin's the only one that actually cares about Billy, Mandy, and Grim. And I feel like Billy's dad probably has it too. We know some of the
Oh my
episodes.
God. And the mom has something
OCD.
else.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine. We're not talking about you. We respect you.
We'll do some research on that later.
okay. So what's next on the docket? Justin, back to you, back to me, JT, or
Anything else for Billy and Mandy at all, or no?
So I kind of want to bring up a show where the character was never confirmed to be autistic.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
and I'm thinking too.
Probably.
Is it about a whole universe in a dark something space nearly 14 billion years ago? Explosion started. Wait.
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, let's talk about Dr. Sheldon Cooper. So one of the running gags in the show is when someone would call him special, he's like, I'm not special. My mom had me tested.
Oh, that joke.
Now I've heard the showrunners say that they never gave him like an official diagnosis because they didn't want to tie him down to one disorder.
I
Well,
mean, Bill mentioned this before, but if you have autism spectrum disorder, you also have other disorders too.
yes, anxiety, ADHD.
Schizophrenia, OCD, depression, bipolar, borderline personality. You have a plethora.
Yes. Now, like I said, he was never officially diagnosed by the creators or in universe. What do we think?
Well, I actually read somewhere that they based Sheldon's behavior, some of his behaviors, off of autistic advocate John Elder Robinson, who
Mhm.
wrote his memoir, Look Me in the Eye.
Hmm.
But the creators at the same time said, oh, we never came off. Okay, again, Asperger's was still an acceptable term at this point. They said, oh, we had him, oh, we never intended to have his behavior like Asperger's. We always described his behavior as Sheldon. So I don't know. It's kind of they say like, well, we based him off of someone who is autistic, but at the same time, we're not saying he's autistic. It's weird.
Yeah.
I think, in all honesty, I think Sheldon might be autistic.
Mm.
Honestly, like he does give off the high functioning, absolutely, but he lacks the social awareness um of someone who is neurotypical.
Or when he acts, when he has an issue with sarcasm. When he doesn't get sarcasm, because that could be a trait of someone on the spectrum. Or, just the way how he's unaware of how he treats others sometimes. Because I think he calmed down as the show went on, but
Mm.
in the first couple of seasons, anyone who's watched the show, agree or disagree, Sheldon Cooper's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah.
He comes
Mhm.
off as very arrogant, very I'm so smart, everyone else about around me is an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like that episode when him and Penny got into something and he banned Penny from going to their apartment, but then when he goes to the Cheesecake Factory, he still expects her to take his order and act like nothing happened when he doesn't get that if you don't treat people right, they're not going to want to associate with you.
Yeah.
And Penny's not going to sit there and grovel to you. And like, listen, I'm not saying all autistic people are like that.
Mhm.
All autistic people are not like that. So I think it can be, but it can't be. But I'm about 90% sure he's autistic.
Yeah. It really feels like the creators were trying to have their cake and eat it too with this. Like,
But yeah, we base him off somebody who's autistic, but he's not autistic.
I mean, come on.
So, Allie, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know if they showed it in Young Sheldon about him being almost the same way, but probably, if anything, Big Bang Theory would show that he had some signs of autism. And probably knowing Sheldon Cooper, he would deny it and not get himself tested for it. So the answer is we'll never know.
And
If they
knowing
ever did an
Sheldon,
episode in the future,
And knowing Sheldon's mother, that test probably wasn't very scientifically based.
Yeah.
It's probably more faith-based.
So most likely Sheldon's probably is, but will never get tested for it.
Yeah, probably out of pride. Because
And
Sheldon Cooper is a very prideful individual.
Mm-hmm.
by the way, no, he said crazy, not special. Though. I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested.
Okay, so you don't have a mental disorder, but
You have a
maybe.
neurodivergent disorder.
Mm-hmm.
But and you know what? An interesting thing before we move on, John Elder Robinson, who Sheldon was based off of, he wasn't diagnosed with autism until he was 40.
So maybe that's what's going to happen with Sheldon Cooper.
You know, that could be a thing because believe it or not, later in life diagnoses are not uncommon nowadays.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Look at Amy Schumer's husband.
I think he was like in what, his 30s?
I think he was already becoming a father when it happened.
I think so.
Because, yeah, later in life diagnoses are actually not. I was talking to somebody one time and she had told me she wasn't diagnosed till she was like 35. So it's becoming more and more common nowadays. Okay, next on the docket, you know we can't get away with talking about autism without talking about this show.
Which one?
You know.
The Good Doctor?
Yep.
Mm.
Okay.
I thought we were going to talk about St. Elsewhere.
What about St.
Wasn't he
Elsewhere?
on Kimmel a few days ago?
Oh, Freddie Highmore?
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was
he
on
was,
Kimmel.
but I didn't watch it. Okay. I've talked about this show before. For those of you who haven't seen it, Dr. Sean Murphy is an autistic savant doctor who is a surgeon.
There's that word again. Savant.
Oh, we're going into another conversation about savant, aren't we?
I mean, then again, you do have realistic people who are autistic and have a savant.
And like, listen, this show has a mixed reaction in the autism community. Some people love it, some people despise it.
Now, I will say this.
All right, let's hear it.
At least make Sean Murphy his own character.
In what way?
He has needs, desires, a personality. It's not just the autism.
Mm-hmm. Didn't he end up having a didn't he end up getting married and I think sometime during this final season he's having a kid?
Oh, he already has a kid in the show.
He did.
At the end of last season.
Oh, it was last season. And also with Freddie Highmore, when going for this part, he did the research. He did the studies. He talked to people on the spectrum.
And this is going to go into a bigger conversation in a second, but you know what I like about this show is they show that Sean, who does a job that 95% of people can't do. I can't be a doctor. Can you, Justin?
No.
Allie?
I don't have a PhD or a doctorate.
JT, do you think you could be a doctor?
Absolutely not.
So this is a job that 95% of the world can't do. But you know what? What I like is they show that he can have relationships. He was dating a girl at one point. They broke up, and then he got with his once best friend Leah, who they got engaged. They're now married, and now they have a kid. It shows that autistic people can live normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is very and that's awesome. And the one thing that I've been curious to see. We all see shows about neurotypical parents have autistic children, but now we have a show about a child who has an autistic parent.
Yeah, that's definitely new ground.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's only 4 episodes left, so I don't think they're going to dive too much into it, but you never know.
Well, there could always be a spinoff.
What, The Good Parent?
Well, and what I like is they show the challenges Sean goes through, but they show that his coworkers and the people he works with treat him like a person, not a
Mm-hmm.
prop.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, I remember you said that earlier. When do autistic people stop being a prop and start being, characters? And and yes, in the first season, he struggles with social cues. He struggles with, but that's what makes him an interesting character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he's not perfect. And the one gripe I have with Freddie Highmore's portrayal of him, my one gripe is I don't like how he has that robotic cadence. That's my one gripe with him.
Oh, yeah.
Makes
I
sense.
don't really like that robotic cadence he has in his voice.
I know exactly what you're talking about. He almost sounds like the character from Galaxy Quest, one of the aliens.
Like, listen, I get it in the first season that they're trying to show Sean, but come on, work with like a dialect or an acting coach or something. Put a little variety in his voice. But that's my one problem. I don't like the robotic cadence he has.
Yeah. It's
But
a little
sorry,
off-putting to me, too.
a little what?
Off-putting.
But everything else, the other autistic traits like sensory overload, like when he's putting his hands over his ears because it's too loud. I think they portray those with respect. Even Tuesday night, they had an episode where he was getting overwhelmed and and he has his hands over his ears. And this other character who's also autistic, and by the way, he's also played by an autistic actress. She goes, Dr. Murphy, let's take it one step at a time. Yeah, so I think they portray the traits perfectly. But here's the thing. This show has a very mixed reaction in the autistic community. Again, some people say, yes, this is a great depiction of autism. Others are like, no, this is terrible. Like, if you type in why I hate the good doctor on YouTube, you know how many videos you'll find?
Oh, you'll probably find dozens.
Oh, yeah. Like, a lot of them are like, okay, one has a point and another one has a point that we'll get into in a second. And because I think that deserves a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
That first point is, well, Sean doesn't represent me as an autistic person.
Okay, but you don't represent the entire autism community.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when because I actually watched a video defending the show from an autistic person goes, yeah, he doesn't represent you, but not he represents one type of autism.
Mm-hmm.
Because they've had some like minor one-off characters that are autistic, but they show like there was one that was nonverbal. So they don't try to say, see, Sean's that's what all autistic people are like. Every autistic person is like Sean Murphy. No,
No.
they show
I wish.
that's not everyone. And I think some of these people, and I think that's the one big gripe, but here's the other one. You knew we were going to touch upon this one, folks. Are you ready?
Yep.
It is time for the big question. Justin, where's my big question banner?
Oh, I sold it.
Why?
Well,
I paid a lot of
what are
money
you
for
talking
that
about?
one.
Just get to the question.
We need the money.
Bill, just get to the question.
Hey, party pooper. The big question. Freddie Highmore is neurotypical. He is not autistic.
Correct.
And when you have, we're going back to our friend Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman is not autistic.
Correct.
You know, should we put Maddie Ziegler into this, or should we leave her out of this, Allie? What do you think?
Unfortunately, she already played. She's neurotypical already and already played someone who's autistic.
Yeah.
And now it's time for the big question.
And we can also include Ben Affleck in that conversation as well, playing an autistic savant in The Accountant. Another savant.
All right. Here's the big question. Ready? Should, and I want the chat board's view on this, should neurotypical actors play autistic characters?
I'll give you my answer, and the answer is it depends.
I'm kind of in the same boat. Go ahead.
There should be conditions met.
Okay.
The casting director does their due diligence and actually tries to find a neurodivergent actor or actress for the role.
And not BS it and claim they did.
And B, if they do go down the path of a neurotypical actor or actress, they need to do their due diligence and research the role.
Like Dustin Hoffman met the actual person that he was supposedly based off of.
Yeah. Don't do what John Travolta did for The Fanatic. Don't do what Maddie Ziegler did for Music. Research.
Freddie Highmore did the research and actually talked to people on the spectrum to make sure he wasn't playing a caricature.
I think there was one other show, I think on Netflix, where they actually brought autistic people.
Is it Atypical?
Atypical.
I watched one episode of that show.
I didn't like it, to be honest. I tried watching the first season. I watched the first season.
I watched like the first episode. I think everyone except the main character and his sister, everyone in that show is like very unlike.
Oh yeah.
People I do not want to associate with.
Yep.
But anyway, there is two sides to every story. On one hand, I think if you do your research and you portray characters with respect, then I personally don't see an issue with it. But at the same time, there would be, but at the same time, you're taking opportunities away from neurodivergent actors.
Yeah.
So I think there's both sides of the coin.
It's sort of like that controversy from a couple years ago with all of the animated shows with people of color being portrayed by white voice actors.
Like Cleveland from Family Guy. Missy from Big Mouth.
And Azaria from Simpsons.
Or even since this is sort of the disability route here, years ago, I want to say this was 2008, 2009. Yeah, bringing my buddy Seth MacFarlane back into this. I think you know what I'm talking about. There was a There was an episode when Chris had a crush on a girl with Down syndrome.
Oy.
Yeah.
Oh, you remember this one, don't you? And
Everybody remembers this one.
she made a joke
Fox
going,
News remembers this one.
she goes, she goes, well, my father, what are your parents? Well, my father's a plumber and my mother's the former governor of Alaska. Of course, poking fun at.
Palin.
Sarah Palin.
And Sarah Palin and all of them flipped out and called
He
Seth
went on the
MacFarlane.
O'Reilly Factor and complained.
And called Seth MacFarlane basically ableist. But you know what? They forgot this one thing. The voice actress who portrayed that girl actually has Down syndrome herself.
Wow.
Wow.
And she even said, I was raised to have a sense of humor. I don't take, and she said, I don't take my kid and try to get sympathy for votes. And like, here's the thing. If the actual actress has Down syndrome, then okay, it's no issue. But if it's someone who doesn't and is trying to imitate someone with Down syndrome, then I have an issue. I don't know what you guys think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because then you're mocking
it makes it go down a little easier. It was definitely a jab at Sarah Palin, who does not have hard skin in the slightest.
But that song that Stewie sings is, you got to admit, it's catchy as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, but overall, I think those people need to be people who have any sort of neurodivergent or mental illness need to be portrayed respectfully and with dignity.
Yes.
And anybody have any parting thoughts?
No.
Anyone?
I'm good.
No, JT, we didn't get your comment on this. Do you think neurotypical actors should play neurodivergent characters?
I'm going to echo Ali on this one. I think it depends really on the role and on the character and on the perception that the actor wants to portray.
Now, actually, no, that's.
No, go ahead. What is it?
So I was going to make the suggestion like someone on the spectrum in a more action role. Would we? It would really be their choice if they want to do like their own stunts, stuff like
I think
that.
the people who are working on the film, if they think that character's good for the part, but a big thing would be sensory issues.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
If there's explosion, then I think the studio should try to accommodate that actor. Should do their best to accommodate that actor. Like saying, hey, there's a scene, it's an explosion, it's going to be loud. Do you want to use a stunt double?
Well, for insurance reasons, they probably would have to include a stunt double. Oy, insurance. Didn't even think about that.
Like, you want to use a stunt double if there's loud noise scenes, you want to use like earplugs, or studios should go out of their way to should at least try to accommodate the actors.
Yeah.
Right.
And we could, like I said, there is a character in this show, in The Good Doctor, who is autistic and is portrayed by an autistic actress. So I wonder if they give her own spinoff.
Who knows?
So, okay, everyone said their piece tonight?
I have.
Yep. Any other questions in the chat or?
No, just some comments. Just some comments about like autism and TV shows and movies. Nothing really specific, but just some overall a very good chat board. Very proud of you tonight. Very proud of our
And
viewers.
this was a very difficult topic to talk about tonight.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there was people who, your mom who's had some interesting things to say, your dad about, we don't get too much into this. Sesame Street has an autistic character.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
Yep.
did.
So I think society is trying to make waves about that,
And
about
going
autism.
back to the Sesame Street thing, because the person who plays that character is actually a mother of a child who has autism.
Really? That's interesting.
Oh wow.
Yep. So
Interesting.
that's okay. That's why I asked this question beforehand, is if it's a family member who has a child or sibling with autism, could they play it?
Here's the thing. She knows her child. I think she knows what's acceptable and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say in my final thoughts, autism is not a disease. And there are many people who, and you know what? When you guys were talking about cures and all that, somebody who I went to college with, who I'm not going to name on this podcast, because even though he doesn't have the decency for saying this, I actually do. He had a brother he has a brother who's autistic, but then he claimed that he was cured. Like how? Goes, well, the cure to autism is just good, strict parenting. You know what? I'm going to say it. Are you ready? Shut the up. Seriously.
Yeah.
I don't think that person watches this show, so I don't care. And even if he did, I don't care if he heard that.
So it's pretty much I'm not gonna say it on there.
Tell us off there. But no, people with autism, whether they're high functioning or low functioning, are people, and they deserve to be treated with dignity. They deserve to be treated with respect, and they deserve to be treated like human beings, not props, not puppet, not pets. They deserve to be treated like people. So please, if you meet an autistic person, don't ask them what their savant skill is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't
compare them to
and
Raymond
don't
or Sean
immature
Murphy.
them. Don't talk to them
Okay?
like they're a
And-
kid. Talk to them like they're a human.
And God help you if you ever call him the R word.
That's between you and God, not me. But Allie's right. Don't infantilize them. Don't talk to them like they're 4-year-olds. There are autistic people who are adult who can understand you and can function as adults.
Yeah.
So please, just be kind, treat them with and treat people with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And to those who've been silenced by ignorance, autism speaks. To those who've been, I just want to say, we see you, we hear you,
And we stand with you.
and we stand with you.
And for those
All
who
right,
think that they're doing the right thing, get yourself educated. Get
Well,
yourself educated on this.
I'll
Don't
say this. Ignorance, I think, can be fixed. Just
and
try to
ignorance
learn.
is not bliss. Just remember that.
Like, if you know someone who's autistic, educate yourself.
Mhm.
Education is the best cure for ignorance. I'm sure someone said that. I'm sure it's on a plaque. All right. Anyone else have any parting thoughts?
I yield.
In the wise words of Imagine Dragons, there's nothing left to say now.
That's
I
for
would have
you,
said it's time to
Kitty.
begin, isn't it?
No, we're not here to begin. We're here to end.
Oh,
This is
so we did it my way.
yes, let's do that.
Until we face the final curtain.
Na 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 hey
I was
hey.
doing Frank Sinatra, okay?
I tried. It's all right. We want to thank you.
No lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye.
No,
That
that's better. I like it.
was good. We want to thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us tonight. This is a very, very, very powerful conversation to have, and I'm glad we were able to have it, given that it is Autism Acceptance Month, April. I want to thank the Starfield panel of Super Review Show panelists that do this podcast with me all the time. Bill, Justin, Allie, your work does not go unmatched. You do an incredible job, all three of you. Thank you so much for everything you do. Deeply
Thank
appreciate it.
you. And
Thank
don't
you.
worry, next week we'll probably have a lighter topic.
We'll have a fun topic instead.
Nah, we're gonna make
A
it
much more
hardcore.
lighthearted. We're gonna.
What was that,
The dr-
Allie?
We're gonna
The
make
drugs
it
are coming.
so hardcore that there'll be tears on all of our eyes.
No.
I'll bring the onion. I'll send every single one of you
Movie
guys some
scenes we
onions to
can't
chop.
unsee.
Well, the Wolf of Wall
The
Street.
onions. I'm telling you, the onions will get to you guys.
No. The Wolf of Wall Street, anyone? No, I'm just kidding. I digress. Thanks so much for watching, listening. However, you enjoyed us tonight. Thank you so much to our chat board. You guys were on fire tonight. Chat board, give yourselves a round of applause out there. And just like our boy TJ Crown in the chat board said, please make sure your notifications are turned on your podcast and this YouTube channel, the Super Review Show. We do this show regularly on Wednesday nights. We'll be back next Wednesday, of course, for another episode of the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag. But for all of us here at the Super Review Show's Mixed Bag, for this autism representation in the media podcast, stay safe,
Take
take
care.
care,
Love
and
yourself.
Be awesome.
Be awesome.
be awesome. Have a great night, everyone.